Okay, we are back with slow damage. I really want to play more because, I'm very intrigued. I want to see how crazy this is supposed to get. No. From latest quick save. It's a thing though. Here we go. So we had more stuff added. Yeah, because I didn't quick save. I did like a full save. Alright. District A, also known as the Deathmatch Area, was a place forbidden to the average citizen, not that they'd want to visit. Because no normal people ever came around, nearly all the shops had closed their doors for good. The deeper you traveled into the district, the rougher and dirtier the city became. The place was busiest that night. By some unspoken rule, that was when everybody showed up. As the four of us walked to the heart of District A, the sounds of scuffling and jeering grew louder. Kotaro grinned. Here, unlike anywhere else, the air smelt of dust and copper. And, unlike anywhere else, everyone's smoke was full of chaotic energy. The countless colors shifted and blurred together, like an aurora of reject crayons.
平和平和この間の見せしめが効いたね。
見せしめ？ああ、銃ぶっ放しまくってたやつか。まあ、吊るしといたからな。
銃は使用禁止になったのか？
Eiji shook his head in response to my question.
いえ、使用禁止という明確なルールは作ってません。相変わらず暗黙の了解状態ですよ。
Drew, it's like everybody comes here to bare hand fight. Why are you gonna sit here and bring a goddamn gun? Bro?
そのせいか、負けたことが悔しくてどうしても勝ちたい、復讐したいって新参者が銃を持ち込むことも増えてきてるんですけどね。
Technically, deathmatch rules permitted the use of weapons. However, weapons gave the armed fighters a huge advantage over the unarmed, so there was an implicit agreement among the participants not to bring any. Nevertheless, as AAG said, some came armed regardless. These types were seen as cowards, and they were sometimes lynched as a warning to others. Ooh. Sorry, I just remembered what that word meant. Oh god.
この間吊るしたやつはリンチを止めに入って俺らにも銃を向けてきたからよ。そりゃぶん殴るよな。そうじゃなくても銃や武器が絡むと試合じゃなくて戦争が始まっちまう。
そういうアホを見つけたらボコって持ち込んだ武器と一緒に吊るしとくとね、それなりの効果があるんだよね。
Jesus.
もしデスマッチが戦争になったら、その矛先は必ず高里組に向きます。それじゃ新興味がめちゃくちゃになっちゃいますから。
This
ど
is
んなに
insane.
混沌としているように見えても、バランスは大事ですからね。
True. That's usually how it goes in places like this. Even places that aren't self-governed, like Shinko Umi. Even places that are governed by the government, there are still the people who deal in the I want to say the underworld because it's usually how it's referred to. You know, they're top people in those underworld places where basically you don't come to our turf, we don't go to your turf, and that's that, you know?
みんなが平和に暮らすためってとこか。
As I listened, I thought to myself, what does peace even look like here in Shinkoumi? Once you fell into the depths of hell, you wouldn't be climbing back out again. No, You'd have to make your peace down here. And our little rock-bottom society played by its own rules. I was merely a cog in the machine. But, believe it or not, I kinda liked it down here. Nothing worth caring about, nothing that could tie me down. In that sense, yeah, maybe it was peaceful. A nearby ring of onlookers started to cheer, and I looked over. A rainbow of smoke blurred together, flailing wildly. But I watched it all with cold indifference. Ah, yes, we love random bars. After I left the deathmatch area, I was sitting in some random bar getting drunk when my phone buzzed. There was a new message in the group chat between me, Ray, and Taku. See, Ray, what do you think, Toa? Depends if I feel like it. I knew you'd say that, lol. They do take out, so one of these days I'll pick some up so we can try it. Sounds good. It will be, I promise. Got a call about a critical patient. Come over ASAP. I know I didn't have to read all of them, but I wanted to. As it happened, I was thinking of going home anyway. Cigarette between my lips, I paid my tab and walked out. Oh my goodness, who's the critical patient? Wait, are we gonna actually see stuff? A few minutes after I arrived back at the clinic, Ray showed up. The patient was gravely injured, but this was no ordinary patient. A group of men, possibly the guy's buddies, carried him in through the back entrance. His shirt was stained red with blood. All of them were wearing flashy clothes with lots of accessories. These weren't innocent civilians. These were Yakuza. Most of the many medical facilities in Shinkoumi claim to refuse service to gang members. I mean, understandable, because, again, turf wars, and if they learn that you treated their enemies, they're gonna treat you like an enemy, and just a whole bunch of shit you don't want to get involved in. Oh. In reality, a lot of them accepted those same patients behind closed doors, and this clinic was one of them. Well, I guess in a place like Shinkoumi. That makes sense. Oh my goodness, sorry. The entire day I've been losing my voice. I'm so sorry. Okay. We were so often visited by Yakuza, you'd think Taku was one of them. Word on the street was he had earned the Takusato Gumi's trust. Sometimes he would suddenly close the clinic or change office hours just to accommodate these special patients. Out of respect for his civilian patients, he made the gang bring their wounded in through the back, but it was an open secret at this point. This didn't scare off any of his regular patients, however. Doctors as good as Taku were hard to find. True, literally. Look, if you're the best goddamn doctor I've ever met, I sure as hell am gonna turn a blind eye to the fact that you're treating Yakuza. Besides, the residents of Shinkoumi accepted that these things came with the territory of living here. Literally. If you want the best treatment... I'm so sorry, Ray. I did not mean to speak over you, but if you want the best treatment, you're just gonna have to suck it up. With permission, Ray began to remove the patient's shirt as he lay on the exam table. The man was sweating bullets, gritting his teeth to endure the pain. I mean, not that I've ever been seriously hurt, but I would assume, if he wasn't doing any of that, he'd either be very tolerant of pain or dead. Stripping him revealed a stab wound in his side, covered in blood. Maybe, Because there are people who like bleed a lot, even though like the wound may be small. So he might be that kind of person, you know? Frowning, Taku examined the cut, then started patching him up. Ray and I assisted him as needed, following orders as he gave them.
よし。
After he finished administering first aid, Taku let out a long sigh. The patient had regained a lot of color in his complexion. Because a part of me wanted to say complex, you know. Oh god. Compared to when he first arrived, and he seemed calmer now.
痛みはどうですか？もし辛いようなら休んでいった方が。いや、いい。
Oh my god, they give him a face? Grunting, the man tried to push himself into a sitting position. Taku held out a hand to stop him.
急に動かない方がいいですよ。
手当てが終わったら戻ってこいって上に言われてるんでね。
Ignoring Taku's request, the man sat himself up regardless. Then, clutching his bandaged side, he slowly hopped down off the exam table.
世話になった。すまねえ。
Taku didn't bother trying to stop him. He knew precisely what kind of world this man lived in. Literally. If he didn't get back, bro's as good as dead. The man snatched up his neatly folded shirt and started walking, pressing his hand against the wall for support. He left accompanied by his associates.
見送ってくるわ。
Ray hurried after them. They would be leaving through the back, the same way they came in. The man's medical expenses would then be billed to the Takasato-gumi directly. As Taku and I tidied up the medical equipment, Ray came back into the exam room and let out a giant sigh.
ほんと嫌になっちゃう。
仕方がない。無理に引き止めることもできないからな。
もちろん分かってはいるんだけどね。あんな状態で返すのって本人の意思だから仕方がないんだけど。
患者が望まないのであれば俺たちができることは何もない。
Also true.
うん、そうなのよね。
Ray nodded to himself sadly, his eyes on the floor. This sort of thing didn't happen every single day, but it was still fairly frequent. Judging from his stab wound, the patient probably got embroiled in some sort of fight. But Yakuza weren't the only ones who had to worry about physical danger. Everywhere you looked, the city was dripping with death and violence, the product of pent-up rage that no one knew how to allay. Not often I hear that word. At this point, the line between Yakuza and civilian had blurred beyond recognition.
あとはもう大丈夫かしら。
Okay.
ああ、来てくれて助かったよ。急に呼び出してすまなかったな。
いいのよ。気にしないで。
あと、明日の炊き出しよろしくな。
はーい。
炊き出し
The unusual phrase gave me pause, but Taku rolled his eyes.
先週から言ってただろう。忘れたのか？路上生活者や仕事が見つからない人たちを支援するボランティアのイベントだよ。
Come to think of it, I vaguely remembered that conversation. Stuff I didn't care about generally wasn't a priority to me. No, for sure though. Like, literally, earlier today, some stuff was going on, like I said, with the family emergency. And my mom was like, who's this man that you're talking about? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, is it the guy who lives there? I'm like, I don't know, is it? Then she had to like start describing things to me. I'm like, yeah, he fits that bill. She's like, okay, so it is that person. I'm like, Why am I gonna sit here and remember a dude I'm literally never gonna ever see ever again? So yeah, definitely understand that. It's like my brain likes to remember stuff that it considers important. Like, for example, there could be some anime character that I really like that I remember like all the fucking details of, but then comes something like what I just said about the dude who I didn't remember. I'm not gonna remember that. My brain's like, that's not important. Oh man.
よろしく頼むな。あとは俺がやるから帰っていいぞ。
At his prompting, Ray and I left the room.
とは
What do you want? Right as I was about to head up to my apartment, Ray stopped me.
最近絵の方はどうなの？誰かいいモデルは見つかった？
いや、今のところは。
I shook my head. Ray was referring to my article on the Fourth Face Bruce company blog, recruiting potential art models. Outside of being an all-around degenerate, art was my sole hobby, specifically oil painting. Ray liked my work a lot. When he showed his boss at Roost, the guy decided he wanted to display all my new pieces in his establishment. That said, I couldn't paint a thing without a model. And not just any model, one who met my specific requirements. The manager of Roost liked to appraise and collect paintings as a hobby, and he wrote about all sorts of artists on the company blog, both professional and amateur. He also invited artists to send in photos of their submissions, which he would post on the site. And, if he really liked the piece, he would display it in the bar. Periodically, articles would go up seeking models for my work. My artist alias was Euphoria, chosen for me by Ray. I didn't care too much, but apparently Euphoria had a unique style that attracted a considerable cult following. So whenever my model requests went up, I'd always get a handful of responses. It was more of a steady trickle than a torrent, so I only checked my inbox whenever I felt like it. It didn't matter how interested the model was. If I wasn't interested in them, I couldn't paint them. And lately, I wasn't interested in any of the people who emailed me.
早く新作書いてよね。一ファンとして楽しみにしてるんだから。それじゃ、おやすみ。
With a playful wink, he strode off into the staff room, humming a jaunty tune as he went. As for me, I took the elevator to the 3rd floor and went into my apartment. Then I switched on the TV, flopped onto the sofa, and grabbed my half-finished bottle of booze off the floor. After the lukewarm alcohol flowed down my throat, I grabbed the pack of cigarettes on the coffee table and lit one. Gazing up at the faint illumination of the flickering TV on the ceiling, I slowly exhaled the smoke. According to the clock on the wall, it was nearly 3 a.m. But I still wasn't sleepy, so as I took another drag of my cigarette, I contemplated popping some sleeping pills. Emoto is the central part. The next day, Taku shook me awake and dragged me out to help with the volunteer soup kitchen event. But even then, we still couldn't compete with the dozens upon dozens of people who had come to avail themselves of charity. Some of the volunteers looked like gangsters or host club workers. Some had showed up out of sheer boredom, some were genuinely trying to do some good, while others were just trying to improve their public image. Then Ray turned up, and the soup kitchen began. We ladled pork and veggie soup from a big pot, into little styrofoam containers and handed them to each person in line.
あら、村瀬先生、こんにちは。
Oh, not the chatty neighbor woman. Oh my goodness.
どうもこんにちは。
相変わらず素敵ね。
いえ、とんでもないです。
As the locals passed through the line, they all said hello to Taka.
村瀬先生、この間はありがとう。
池山さん、その後お孫さんの様子はいかがですか？
薬を飲んで寝たらすっかり良くなったみたいでな。先生のおかげだよ。
それはよかった。
The locals all deeply appreciated Taku's caring nature. They struck up conversations with him, one after another,
あら、レイちゃんも手伝ってくれてるのね。
completely ignoring Doa.
はーい、お手伝いに来ました。
イケメンだから目の保養になるわね。
Hello, I'm standing right here.
やだ、そこは美人って言ってくれないと。
Smiling, Ray raised a limp wrist, and the women all giggled in delight. Like Taku, he had an affable personality that was popular with the locals.
とわ、お前も来てたのか。
Oh god. A familiar voice called out to me as I lazily helped with the soup distribution. And I looked up. Sorry. Thought it was an important message. There stood Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji.
とは豚汁姿が様になってるね。
豚汁姿って何ですか？
Bro, I don't know. See, what you do in this situation is you just smile and nod.
知らないよ。
お前らも来るんだな、こういうイベント。
そりゃ上からの命令だし、しょうがないよね。
榊さん、意外とこういうの好きですからね。顔に似合わず。
榊さんの命令じゃ断れねえだろ。ってことで、飼い主待たせてるから行くわ。
Rolling his eyes, Kotaro stalked off, scratching his head.
ほいじゃ、とは
But
失礼します。
I'm guessing Mayu's part Chinese? Eiji bowed politely, then hurried after Kotaro with Mayu.
最近、高里組もこういうボランティアのイベントによく来るようになったわね。やっぱりイメージアップを狙ってるのかしら。
Probably. Ray gazed after the three stooges. Oh, you really think they're stooges? As he stirred the soup pot.
榊が次期組長の座でも狙ってるんじゃないのか。
To me, it was a pretty casual topic, but Ray frowned awkwardly. He probably felt bad that my father died or something.
榊さん、次の組長でほぼ確定らしいわよ。でも、組長の座を狙ってるって言われてる人、もう一人いるじゃない？
I was about to say, do I have a message?
あのメガネの透かしてる方。
Oh my god, there's a big shot with glasses. Have we seen him yet? I will have to take a look at this later. Oh jeez. So many things. So little time.
どうだろうな。俺は見てない。
Okay, I guess we haven't seen him then. Ray was referring to Tono Masami, the chief administrator of the Takusato Gumi. Sakaki and Tono were diametrically opposed in every way, and as you might expect, they got along like oil and water. Let's see. Tono. Yeah. I'm just trying to like extend it enough that it sounds like two O's. I looked up at the direction Kotaro had gone and saw a group of thuggish youths and guys in suits All of them Takasato Yakuza, probably.
やっぱりライバル同士になるわけだから顔を合わせたくないのかしらね。他に次期組長候補っていないの？
俺に聞かれてもな。
I gazed out at the group of gangsters. The nearby civilians were all giving them a wide berth. I mean, rightfully so. The smoke that rose from the group was a swirl of muddy colors. But you didn't need to have special powers to know to avoid them. Then I heard Taku calling for me and turned my attention back to the task at hand. Once the long line of people finally dwindled, I was mercifully cut loose. It was just past 2 p.m. I stood in the shade of a tree a short distance from the event space, taking a smoke break. As I stared around absently, I caught sight of a familiar man. He was wearing a gray suit and talking to the guy in charge of the charity event. Sakaki. He seemed to sense my gaze. He looked over his shoulder at me, then came walking over straight away.
Oh,
Dang it. I was hoping he'd be hot. Like, don't get me wrong. I do like older men, but he's a little bit too much for me. I was about to say Sasaki. Sakaki was a Takasato Gumi's second in command. Given his position, the younger guys all feared him. But he was always pretty nice to me. His smoke was a vibrant green color. He slid both hands into the pockets of his slacks and looked around. He shrugged off my absent response and grinned. Oh, he got real quiet there. I could barely hear him. One second, gotta respond to the message. He leaned in to whisper in my ear. I keep forgetting it's not space!
行くわけない。
だよな。お前はそう言って分かっちゃいるんだが。
There was a suggestive pause as he rubbed his neck.
まあいい。じゃあな。
Ta-da. He promptly cut the conversation short and walked off with a wave. That's probably why. Right as he left, Ray ran up behind me.
何？榊さんと話してたの？
別に挨拶だけ。
そう。
Squinting dubiously, he watched Sakaki disappear into the distance.
あの人もよくわかんない人よね。妙に人情派っていうか、とわをすっごく構うし、息子の面倒を見る父親って感じ。
Sorry, responding to a message again. Ay. He's trying to be your dad.
ガキの頃からの付き合いだし。
Wait, do you think... Okay. You know what? I'm pretty sure these slow damage videos probably... Not that I'm like monetized on YouTube, but pretty sure even if I was monetized, they'd probably be demonetized anyway. But I'm just thinking, do you think like maybe Sakaki was possibly grooming Toa? Because like think about it. Like, it's literally been like claimed as fact that Sakaki's always been nice to Toa. Like, sure, he did say, you know, Sakaki and his mom were like really good friends or something like that. But like, you know, who knows? Maybe like after a certain point, he was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I want to bang this kid. Listen, not that I'm saying, you know, it's a good thing. I'm just, you know, speculating about stuff. Because it would make a lot of sense about his behavior, you know. But, like I said, I don't know. I'm just speculating.
まあそれもそうか。そういえばもう一人のメガネの透かした方はやっぱり来てないみたい。
でかいのが揃いも揃って邪魔だよ。
Oh, is it her? Out of nowhere, a mountain of styrofoam containers appeared, interrupting us.
だ、何かと思ったらおばあち
It
ゃん。
is! The candy granny! Beneath the mountain of styrofoam was the old lady who ran Tajima's. As she held her containers, she glared up at us sharply. But as soon as she laid eyes on Ray, her expression softened slightly.
なんだよあんた。いたのかい。
いたわよ。みんなのお手伝いに来たの。
まあ、人手は大いに越したことはないからね。
でしょ？おばあちゃんたちの何倍も働けるからどんどん言ってちょうだい。
ああ、助かるよ。
Ray had a massive sweet tooth, so he was always buying things at Tajima's. Because of that, the old lady seemed to have taken a liking to him. I think she probably just likes him for his money. Like, yes, give me more money.
おばあちゃん、それ大丈夫？持とうか？
いや、これぐらいどうってことないよ。他お手伝いな。
わかったわ。でも気をつけてね。
ああ。
As she slowly tottered off, Ray waved goodbye, then turned back to me.
イベントは16時までだからもうすぐ終わりよ。そろそろタクのところへ戻りましょう。
Together, we started walking. Before long, we found Taku slumped on a bench, his hands folded on his stomach, looking up at the sky.
Oh.
When he spotted us, he forced himself upright, fatigue etched deeply into the lines of his face.
お疲れ様。忙しすぎてあっという間に時間経っちゃったわね。
本当にな。お前たち何か食べたか？残り物ならまだあるみたいだが。
私はさっきもらって少し食べたわ。とわは？
You know this man don't eat.
いや、
I pulled a pack of cigarettes from the back pocket of my jeans.
まさかあんたのご飯それ？もう。
Ray shot me a pointed look as I lit one up.
と、
Yo, I looked over in response to my name. Then Taku jerked his head to point at something. I looked in the direction he indicated and saw Sakaki standing with Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji.
さっきあいつらと話してただろ。
ああ、話しかけられたから。
True. Literally, he won't talk to anyone unless he has to.
昔からの顔見知りだから付き合いやすいんだろうが、あまり深く関わるなよ。
そうね。いつトラブルに巻き込まれるかわかんないし。
Ray nodded, frowning. I looked away and didn't say anything. I wasn't trying to get in with any of them. They just wanted to talk to me, so I responded. That's all. I was pretty sure Taku understood that, but he was so paranoid about the Takasato Gumi, he kept nagging me over and over. Ironic, considering how many gangster he treated at his own clinic.
ねえ、今日はルーストに来るの？
多分。
そう。店長が珍しいお酒を仕入れたから、トワに飲んでみてほしいって言ってたわよ。あまり万人受けしない味らしいんだけど、あんたならいけるんじゃないかって。
へえ。
I was generally willing to drink just about anything alcoholic, so if he wanted me to try something, I was down for it.
今晩お待ちしております。
Ray pressed one hand to his chest and bowed like a humble butler.
あまり飲みすぎるなよ。
私が見張るから任せて。
I don't need no babysitting. Ignoring their banter, I looked out at the setting sun and exhaled a lungful of cigarette smoke. Oh, 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 oh. It's quite a name. Late that night, after the soup kitchen, the three of us stopped by the local diner. After that, I headed downtown. As I wandered around, looking for a place to have a drink, I heard the sounds of an argument in the distance. There was a crowd of people standing in the middle of the street. Oh. Not usually something you like hearing during an argument. Through the sea of people, I could see a man in a suit scoffing down at the ground. It was Tono. He was glaring down at a frightened man who had fallen to the asphalt. Then he and his cronies cut through the crowd. As he walked, he spotted me standing there, and his disgruntled scowl shifted to surprise. His reddish-brown smoke fluttered in the breeze. Okay, I can get behind that. Oh wait, you know what I mean. I mean, like, you know, like if I had to pick him or Sakaki, I'd probably go with Tono. He and his cronies walked over and came to a stop right in front of me. How'd you know? He sounded completely uninterested. Then he started cracking his neck.
少し。
近頃は借りた恩を踏み倒そうとする奴が多くてな。困ったもんだ。
He let out an exasperated sigh, then donned a condescending smirk.
ところで、昨日は炊き出しのボランティアとやらにお前も行ったのか？
What's it to you, old man?
ああ、強制連行で。
村瀬か。純粋にボランティアとして参加するのは大いに結構なことだ。だが昨日はうちの連中も来てたんだろう。俺たちがそんなイベントにわざわざ参加するなんてあざといと思わないか。
It was a loaded statement aimed squarely at Sakaki's head. As for me, I just shrugged. Ono's lip curled in contempt.
親父が言って組もしばらくはゴタゴタするだろうが、もし何か困ったことがあれば言えよ。助けてやる。
Whoa, you're making passes at me? Who do you think you are? It was obvious he didn't mean a word of it, and he clearly had no intention of pretending otherwise. If anything, maybe he was just mocking Sakaki's general disposition. Ja. With that, he and his goons headed off downtown. Likewise, I started walking without a moment's hesitation. And we're in an alley because, yes. Right as I stepped into an alley to avoid the crowds, however, my phone buzzed in my coat pocket. I pulled it out and checked the screen. The big vitals of illness. Rumors say he was sick, on the 9th, died of heart failure. Rumors say he was sickly in recent years. Okay. I never asked for this subscription, but apparently anyone who traded contact info with him got added to it. His stance was, if you don't like it, unsubscribe, which true. The newsletter mostly featured local news updates, with a light sprinkling of unsubstantiated rumors, informal polls, and other random crap. It was completely useless to me, but since he only sent them every now and then, I couldn't be bothered to unsub. So here I was. I closed my inbox and opened a new browser tab. From my bookmarks, I selected Roost's blog in the 4th face. I like to check in every now and then, whenever I felt like it. Sometimes there were really good submissions, so it was a decent way to kill some time. I hadn't checked in a while, so there were a fair few articles I missed. Apparently, they finally caught the artist who was exclusively using oil paint made from human remains. It's crazy, what the fuck? Oh my god, they have 7G! We're about to catch up to them! But a human remain? God. I was following that case for a while. They found evidence that he was murdering people to make paint. That's crazy. I'm sorry, I'm literally speechless, like, bro, what? Why would you, what? Like, I swear, that'd be, like, really fucking insane if, like, he had money to, like, afford, like, actually getting, like, oil paint, you know? Like, I'm not saying I'd be understanding, but it would, like, make sense if he didn't have money and he was, like, murdering people to, like, make paint, but, like, I'm just saying that makes sense. Not that it's, like, right or anything, but, like, what? Oh my god. Honestly, if he managed to make the Shinkoumi police force get off their asses, then he must have been a pretty shitty criminal. Alas, now he would never paint again. Next, an article discussing an acrylic painter and how their style changed over time. I mean, doesn't that happen to a lot of artists though? Like, sure, sometimes you have like a set art style, but it continues to like change and stuff as you continue to make art and grow, basically, right? While they started out painting intricate lines and pale colors, they suddenly switched to gloomy pieces painted predominantly with. Comparing the two styles side by side, I could immediately tell it was a side effect of drug use. Damn. I've seen these stark style shifts, geez, it's a mouthful, dozens of times in the past, and it wasn't that uncommon. I skimmed the other articles for a while, then came to a stop at one particular artist. Their alias, Grace. It was a photograph of a wound, specifically a bloody cut somewhere on the body. What the fuck? I could tell the image had been retouched, but to me it looked like an ordinary self-harm cut. Okay. And yet, something was off about it. I didn't know what it was. Was this a wrist or a leg? For a while, I scrutinized the image, trying to work it out. Then I closed the tab. Since it was posted on Roost's blog, the manager there would probably have more information about it. With that thought, I headed to Roost. So wait, was that added to, like, something? Not the palette. Not here either. Oh, clue. Okay, so that was added to clue. I mean, I should have figured it was the notebook. Or sketchbook. One of the two. At first glance, you wouldn't realize Roost was a bar at all. And there was no sign out front, so for the most part, it just looked like a tall, spindly concrete building. As I stepped inside, the ethereal music and lighting greeted me like always. The bar was pretty packed, or at least, I was having trouble seeing any empty seats. But this wasn't some sports bar for normies. The people who gathered here were of a particular inclination that naturally resulted in tight crowds. Ray walked around waiting tables. Meanwhile, the manager quietly worked the counter. Sup, buddy? He had an unusual hairstyle and always wore a perfectly fitted black shirt. Late 40s, if I had to guess. As he crafted cocktails and washed dishes, he gazed around the bar. I had never seen him get emotional or speak a single word more than was strictly necessary. Likewise, his smoke was a calm yellow color, like a daffodil. The bar was furnished with all sorts of unusual decorations and paintings. Shields and tapestries, with a magical motif, porcelain dolls with cracks all over them, accessories featuring eyeballs and holy crosses. I couldn't help but wonder where he bought this shit. Altogether, it engendered a vibe that attracted those with eccentric tastes. Everyone was welcome here, and that was the manager's attitude, and so it became the dominant culture at Roost. Granted, the barrier to entry was still pretty high for the average normie, but for a fringe minority, it was home. As I walked up to the counter and sat down on an empty stool, the manager looked up from the glass he was wiping.
トワ君、待ってたよ。実はちょっと頼みがあって。
レイから聞いた。珍しい酒があるって。
そうそう。ちょっと待ってね。
He turned to the shelf behind him, grabbed a bottle, and held it out for me to see.
これね、アブさんっていうよもぎのお酒で、いろんなメーカーから出てるんだけど、こっちじゃあまり出回ってないやつをフランスから取り寄せたんだよ。でも、この味は苦手な人も多いだろうから、勧めづらくて。トワ君ならいけるんじゃないかと思ったんだ。ちょっと飲んでみてよ。
Poured a small amount of the green liquid into a glass. Then he said a perforated. I've heard the word but never seen it spelled. Spoon on top of the glass and placed a sugar cube on top of it. As I watched curiously, he grabbed a jug of water and slowly poured it over the sugar cube and into the glass. Apparently he was trying to melt the sugar.
そうやって飲むのが普通なのか。
伝統的な飲み方らしいよ。だけど、なかなか手がかかるんだよね。
By the time the cube was nearly melted, the translucent green liquid had gone pale and cloudy. He stirred the glass with the perforated spoon, then slid it over to me.
はい、どうぞ。
I picked it up and took a small sip. The cold liquid slid down my throat, leaving a bitterness in my mouth not unlike herbal medicine. It tasted like someone put their lawn clippings in a juicer. It was bizarre and potent.
どう？
砂糖なしでもいいんじゃないか。
He nodded, smiling.
トワ君ならそう言うと思ってたよ。その苦味と味の強さが苦手で砂糖を入れる人が多いらしいんだけどね。
度数は
60。
That would explain why it burned my throat. I could understand its lack of broad appeal.
あ、とは来てたんだ。
As I was taking my second sip, I heard a familiar voice.
昼間に運動したから疲れちゃった。
Ray strolled across the bar and sat down next to me. Though he was technically on the clock, he was allowed to sit and chat as long as it wasn't too busy.
昼って炊き出しのボランティア？
そう、タクが出るって言うから、私とトワも一緒にね。トワは私以上に疲れたんじゃない？いつもだらけてるから。
まあな。
I shrugged off his teasing. He made a show of pouting.
何よ、つまんないの。あ、それマスターが言ってたお酒どうだった？
飲むか。
Gingerly, he took the glass. Like an anxious puppy, he leaned in to sniff it.
やった。何この匂い。トワこれ飲んだの？飲めるの？
Maybe I do. What's it to you?
うわ。私これは匂いだけでダメ。
His unabashed disgust got a chuckle out of the manager.
これって薬草が原料のお酒なのよね。
そうだね。
植物か。
レイ君って植物嫌いだったっけ？
うん、花は大好きよ。でも植物って見てる分にはいいんだけど、腐ってくるとすごい匂いになるじゃない。だから自分じゃ買ったり育てたりする気にならないのよね。
なるほどね。腐臭っていうのはどの生き物も大体似たような匂いを発するんだよ。鼻に残る嫌な甘ったるさがあるっていうか、人間も植物も動物も。
The subject matter contrasted sharply with his bright smile.
店長って普段は温厚だから忘れがちだけど、やっぱりこのお店の店長よね。
ん？
As they talked, an image rose to the forefront of my mind. The wound photo from Bruce's blog. Glowing blood, exposed flesh. sweet smell of decay wouldn't be too out of place.
店長、聞きたいことがあるんだけど。
どうぞ。
ブログに載ってた傷の画像、あれ知り合い？
ああ、あの画像。なかなか良かったでしょ。
なに傷の画像って。私その記事まだ見てない。
レイ君、その前にお客さん、会計お願いします。
あ、はい。
Ray rose from his seat and walked over to the register.
話の続きだけど、あの画像ね。僕の知り合いじゃなくて、初めて投稿された作品なの。それで、僕も気に入ったから、作者のフレーズにメールしてみたんだけど、連絡がつかなくて。
Sos.
一応作品の投稿時には、メールアドレスの記入を必須にしてるんだけど、ステアドだったみたいでね。
ブログには載せてほしいけ
Ooh,
ど、
I hope I didn't
素
skip.
性は知られたくないってことか。
I really hope I didn't skip by accident. Oh my god.
多分そうだろうね。連絡が取れたら店に作品を展示させてもらおうと思ってたんだけど、ちょっと残念だよね。まあ、また投稿があるかもしれないし、僕も誰か作者を知らないか周りに聞いてみるつもり。何か分かったらトワ君にも教えるね。興味あるでしょ。
まあな。
だと思った。
Bruce drew in not just those with eclectic interests, but equally eclectic artists who sought to cultivate a following. As a result, people often came here to get or give out contact info.
お会計終わったわ。さっきの話の続き教えて。
Ray rushed back and eagerly leaned both arms on the counter.
店のブログ見てみろよ。
あ、そっか。まずはそこからよね。オッケー。
He pulled his cell phone from the pocket of his waist apron.
ああ、この画像ね。っていうかとは、これが気になったの？これってリストカットじゃないの？
そう見えるけど、違う。
違うの？手首か何かを切った後の画像にしか見えないけど。もし本当に違うなら、どうやって作ってるのかしら。
今、トワ君にも話したんだけど、メールアドレスがステアドだったから連絡が取れなくてね。フレーズっていう名前しかわからない謎の作者なんだよ。
なにそれ、ミステリアスじゃない。ちょっとワクワクするわね。
Ray shot me a meaningful grin.
こういう人がモデルになるといいわね。せっかくあんたが興味持ったんだし、ぴったりじゃない。
そううまくはいかないだろ。
I downed the rest of the bittersweet absinthe. I'm not entirely sure how that's pronounced.
そうだ、レイ君。この間店でやったボディアートの相談イベント、お客さんから好評でね。
え、本当に？
ああ。それでね、定期的に開催してみようかと思うんだけど、レイ君さえ良ければどう？
やるわ。あのイベント、いろんな人の話が聞けてすっごく勉強になったの。そこからお客さんになってくれる人もいたし、またやりたいなって思ってたのよ。
Sorry, did it say implants? Is this cyberpunk? Obviously, tattoos were common, but these days, LEDs and IC chips were becoming mainstream too. Cyberpunk for real? No kidding. Some of the customers here had glowing fingernails or horns growing out of their forehead. For a lot of people, it was a fashion statement.
それじゃあ、またイベントの打ち合わせしようか。
よろしくお願いします。
Tray and dishcloth in hand, Ray cheerfully walked off. I stumbled down the street early the next morning after drinking at Roost all night long. Ray was worried about letting me leave, but I assured him I was used to it. This kind of thing happened all the time. It wasn't rare for me to end up down here on the concrete either. I thought I was walking straight, but everything was spinning, and the next thing I knew, I was on my side. I felt a dull ache spread through my body, but it didn't really bother me, probably because I was so drunk. Now that I was lying down, however, fatigue quickly set in. I didn't want to get up again. My eyelids drooped. It felt like gravity was pulling me down hard against the ground. I guess this is happening. With that thought, I closed my eye. And because I was so wasted, it didn't take long for me to pass out. We love passing out in the streets. Whoa, where am I? My head. The stabbing pain made me grimace. Where am I? Forcing my sluggish brain to cooperate, I slowly reviewed the events of last night. I went to Roost, got drunk, and left. Then, on my way home, I must have passed out on the sidewalk. And yet, for some reason, I was now lying on a bed. This was not my room. And there was a weird smell. Not in an unpleasant sense, just very distinct. I must have smelled it somewhere before. Holy plant. As my mind sharpened, I sat up and looked around the room. Did someone take my drunk ass off the street? He sure did. I was wearing all my clothes, and my ass didn't hurt, so apparently they didn't have their way with me while I was out. I mean, yeah, that's a fair assessment, yeah. So someone just brought me here? Was it one of my past hookups? Whoever it was had tucked me in, but I pushed the covers off and moved to get up. Until I saw the bandage wrapped around my arm. I didn't remember getting a bandage on my arm. Hell, I didn't even remember needing a bandage. Was this the work of the same person who brought me here? I unrolled the bandage to find a 4-inch piece of gauze taped to my skin. Ooh. Under that was a 4-inch long cut. When and where did I get this wound, and who treated it? Confused, I tossed the unrolled bandage to the bed and stood up. Every time I moved, my head throbbed and my vision pitched sideways. They are obsessed with plants, holy shit. The room was clean and tidy, with a table, a small sofa, a TV, a bed, and dozens of decorative plants. I could also see pruning shears, a spade, and a watering can. Whoever lived here clearly liked gardening. The potted plants were easily the best part about this place. and I could see even more of them lined up on the balcony. I was clueless about plants, so I couldn't tell what they were, but when I smelled that weird smell again, my attention narrowed in on them. To a novice like me, they all looked like the same kind of plant, so I couldn't tell them apart. Judging from their verdant leaves and bright blooming flowers, their owner probably took good care of them. Still, this was only making the mystery even deeper. What was I doing here in this plant room? I could see a coat folded on the sofa and recognized it as mine. I grabbed it and pulled it on. Then I opened the door and walked out of the green leafy room into a hallway where I found even more potted plants. There were so many, they took up half the walking space. I progressed down the hall to the front door, where I found my shoes lined up neatly. Seriously, what motive did they have? I stepped into my shoes and left the apartment. Briefly, I glanced over my shoulder at the number plate. 1403. No name listed. Thus, I walked down to the end of the hall and found an elevator, but decided to take the stairs instead, all the way down to the ground floor. As I passed through the lobby, I glanced over at the mailboxes. I spotted the one for 1403, but once again, there was no name listed. Once I was outside, I looked back at the building. It was a high-rise condo tower, about 25 stories tall. Judging from that, this was probably District E. Unlike mainland Japan, high-rise condos in Shinkoumi rented for cheap, especially in District E. Looking at the endless walls of them, I could easily imagine why. Back in its heyday, Shinkoumi of city officials ignored safety protocols to build enough housing for the new influx of residents. They were all built on unsteady foundations, and they were packed in so tightly you'd scarcely get any sunlight living there. The buildings only got taller as you traveled closer to the ocean. Livability wasn't a high priority when the land itself was so limited. So in these parts, if you owned a single-story house, you were rich. I pulled my phone out of my coat pocket and launched the GPS app to find out where I was. Murase Clinic was a 15-minute walk away. I quietly memorized my route, then dropped my phone back into my pocket and started walking. When I arrived at the clinic, I went upstairs to my apartment. Well, that happened. Inside, the TV I had left on had been switched off. Probably Taco again. My clean laundry was sitting folded on the sofa, and I got the sense he'd tidy things up while I was gone. I pulled off my coat and flung it over the back of the sofa. Then I switched the TV back on and flopped down on my back. I grabbed the pack of cigarettes off the coffee table and lit one. My hangover had persisted since I woke up in a stranger's house, and it ached with every heartbeat. Slowly, I exhaled the cigarette smoke and lifted my arm into view. My brand new mystery cut still oozing. I thought back to the strange apartment filled with nothing but plants. What kind of weirdo lived there? As curious as I wasn't going to go out of my way to find out. I'd only taken a couple of drags, but nevertheless I pinched the cigarette between my fingers and put it out in the ashtray. body felt like lead. I draped one arm over my eyes. And then I wandered into the darkness behind my eyelids.
Ah, いた
I heard my door open, followed by a loud, cheerful voice that stabbed into my eardrums. At least now I didn't have to wonder who it was. I lowered the arm I had draped over my eyes and looked in the direction of the voice. Ray and Taku were standing there in my room.
ちょっととは昨日はあれからまっすぐ家に帰ったのっていうかお昼よお昼
It's past noon actually. Ray set his large tote bag down on the coffee table with a thud. Taku walked over to the sofa and crouched down to check on me.
具合が悪そうだな。大丈夫か？
Considering got a mysterious wound last night. No.
二日酔い。
なるほど。
昨日も飲みまくってたものねいつものことだけど
With a catty quip, Ray pulled out a series of plastic containers and set them on the table. Apparently, they were here to eat lunch with me. Whenever Ray cooked for us, we would always eat it up here.
今日のメニューはトマトハンバーグカレーよ
Ground beef tomato curry. Interesting.
お、なんだか洒落てるな。
そう時間がなかったから簡単にできるものにしたんだけどお皿と飲み物の準備お願い
わかった。
Tucker rose to his feet, walked into my muse kitchen, and fetched us a bunch of stuff. Plates, forks, spoons, and bottled drinks.
ありがとうほらとわも起きて食べるわよ
At Ray's prompting, I slowly sat myself up. My head still ached, but not as bad as earlier. And then he served up his ground beef tomato curry, and we were ready to eat.
いい匂いだな。
でしょそれじゃ早速食べましょういただきます
Ray picked up his spoon and started eating. Taku took a bite, then immediately looked at Ray.
うまい。
でしょ
トマトの酸味が効いてるな。
そうなのそうなのとわはどう
Ray shot me a hopeful look, so I picked up my spoon.
ちょっと待て、とは。
Before I could take a bite, Taku stopped me.
どうしたそれ。また怪我したのか？
He eyed the fresh cut on my arm.
ああ、ちょっと。
見せてみろ。
Spoon still in hand, I offered him my arm. He took it gingerly and pulled it close.
切られたのか？
いや、わからない。
わからない？
Yes, I don't know.
気づいたらこうなってて、包帯も巻かれてた。
包帯？どういうことだ？
昨日、ルースとの帰りに道端で潰れて。
やっぱり
目が覚めたら、知らない部屋にいた。
え
お前、それを。
Why would he lie to you? The two of them stared at me wide-eyed.
知らない部屋ってどういうこと
そのままの意味だよ。
誰かに連れ込まれたのか？他に被害は？
何も。ベッドに寝かされて、この傷ができてたくらい。
それって泥酔してわけがわからないうちにやられちゃったってこと
My ass didn't hurt, so no.
いや、何もされてない。
え意味がわからないんだけど
And don't worry, we all are.
つまり、酔いつぶれて目を覚ましたら、知らない部屋のベッドに寝ていて、覚えのない怪我をしていたと？
その部屋は全然覚えがないわけ心当たりも
ない。
部屋には誰かいたの？
誰も。
何それ。なんだか気持ち悪いわね。
お前
Oops.
本当に気をつけろよ。道端で寝込むなんて襲ってくださいって言ってるようなもんじゃないか。
They both seem incredibly worried for my safety, but not me. Then I got
よし、食べたら早めに戻ってトアの怪我の処置をするか。
オッケー。
And so the two of them started eating at lightning speed.
俺は別に後ででも。
Before I could finish, Ray whipped his head around to glare at me, his mouth full of curry.
何言ってるの。とは前にも傷を放置して可能させて熱を出したことがあったじゃない。小さな怪我だからって甘く見てると危ないのよ。特にトアはそういうのいい加減なんだから。どうしてできたのかわからない怪我なんて怖いし、ちゃんと治療した方がいいわ。
He was starting to sound like my mom or something. I shrugged.
さ、見せてみろ。
After we finished our food, we briefly borrowed the exam room before the clinic reopened in the afternoon. Taku took my arm and carefully examined the cut.
これは刃物、ナイフでやられたのか。
刃物？切られたってこと？やだ、怖い。
Ray frowned as he peered at my wound from behind me.
怪我としては大きいものじゃないからすぐに治るだろうけどな。お前、本当に覚えてないのか？自分で切ったとかじゃなく？
Brother, I'd know if I did it to myself.
切ってない。
This time it was not me. Promise. Taku used a pair of tweezers to gently rub a cotton ball soaked with disinfectant against the cut, which began to sting. Once the wound was disinfected, he slathered ointment onto a strip of gauze and pressed it against my arm, using tape to secure it in place. Then he wrapped a bandage around it.
これでよしと。大丈夫だとは思うが、何かあったらすぐ言えよ。
ああ。
もう飲むのはいいけど本当に気をつけてよね。
多分な。
最悪。
それにしても理由はわからないんだが、最近多いんだよ。
何が？
酔いつぶれて怪我をしたって患者さんがな。
前から結構いた気がするけど、もっと増えてるってこと？
ああ、高里組の締め付けがきつくなってるって話だから、追い詰められて酒に逃げる人が増えてるのかもしれんが。と、そろそろ時間か。午後の診察始まるぞ。
はい。
Once he put away his medical equipment, Taku rose to his feet. Likewise, Ray filed out of the room.
お前、今日は休みだってな。
ああ。
まだ気分が悪いなら上でおとなしく寝とけよ。
I still had a hangover headache, but it was nothing I couldn't tolerate. As I stepped out into the hall, I passed Arimura, holding a bouquet in his arms.
買ってきたのか？
違いますよ。今配達が来たんですけど、誰からなのか不明で。
He blinked at me with a straight face.
不明？
ええ。なので、泉さんへ聞きに行こうと思っていて。僕の代わりに聞いてきてもらえませんか？
As he spoke, I noticed he was blushing faintly. I'd forgotten that this dude had a major crush on Ray.
お前が聞いてこいよ。
今手が離せないんです。なので、お願いします。
本当にいいのか？
何がですか？ いいんですよ。早く言ってください。
Oh, that's pretty. He sensed what I was getting at and glared at me reproachfully. Then he thrust the bouquet into my hands. The moment I took it, a strange scent tickled my nose. I thought maybe it was the flowers, so I sniffed them, but it wasn't that. Next, I looked at the payment slip. The only sender listed was the flower shop itself. I looked up to find that Arimura had already left.
あら、何よその花、かわいいじゃない。
Just then, Ray walked over from the staff room.
ガーベラかしら。ピンクでとってもかわいいわね。どうしたのこの花。
誰かから送られてきたらしい。
誰かって
さ
あ。わからないってこと？
He looked at me dubiously, so I showed him the payment slip.
花屋の名前しか書いてないじゃない。
有村が困ってた。
恥ずかしがり屋の患者さんなのかしら。それともタクの知り合いとか。何にしろ誰からなのかわからないのはモヤモヤするわね。
I'd say burn them. Put a hand to his chin in contemplation, then looked at me.
ねえとは、この花屋へ行って聞いてきてよ。
Why me? I fixed him with a defiant look. Why the hell would I go to a flower shop for fun?
何よその目。いいじゃない。今日はお休みなんだし。それともそんなに二日酔いがひどいの？
Maybe I just don't want to go to a goddamn flower shop. You ever think about that, Ray?
いや。
それじゃお願いね。お花は私が飾っておくわ。
He took the bouquet from me and winked. Times like these, I couldn't hold my ground against him. If I didn't do exactly as he asked, I'd only get an earful later. Not only that, but Ray knew I wouldn't waste my energy fighting him on it. I looked down at the payment slip in my hands and let out a sigh. Ultimately, I left the clinic and headed to the flower shop. As I walked, I used the GPS app to orient myself in the right direction. Before long, my destination came into view up ahead. The store had a sign that read Rosé, with glass panels that displayed the plants for sale inside. I peered in from outside. There was a single male clerk standing inside with no customers in sight. I walked over to the door and slowly pulled it open. Oh.
いらっしゃいませ。
Pretty. The clerk walked over to me.
聞きたいことがあるんだけど。
あ、はい、なんでしょう。
His expression faltered slightly in the face of my brusque attitude. I think it's Bruce. I pulled the payment slip out of my coat pocket and showed it to him. He recognized it and nodded.
ああ、村瀬クリニックさんへの配達ですね。何か問題が？
Who the fuck sent it?
誰から送られた花なのか知りたい。
He looked at me with a guilty frown.
すみません。こちらはどうしても匿名でと承っておりまして。
どうしても？
はい。なのでお答えするわけには。
送られた側としても困るんだけど、こういうの。
確かにそうですよね。この時は自分が対応したんですが、花を送られたのは患者さんだと思います。皆さんにいつもお世話になっているから感謝を伝えたいと、そうおっしゃられていたので。
匿名にした理由は？
恥ずかしいので知られたくないと。
This clerk was telling the truth, and there was no real reason to force a name out of him. If anything, that'd just be rude to the patient.
わかった。どうも。
I nodded and turned away. I wanted to leave this place ASAP. For some reason, I couldn't stand the leafy aroma of the plants here. With that thought, I opened the glass door and quickly distanced myself from all the greenery. I had officially accomplished the task Ray wanted me to do. And since I wasn't scheduled to work at the clinic today, I had some time on my hands. I figured maybe I'd wander around town before heading back home. Okay, so I can just explore. Alright, well. I get a break from reading. Fog. Rose said, I would never go there willingly. Okay. We're all done. Okay, so I'm guessing that maybe these... and that there's something going on. This is Yanagawa Cafe. It's a popular lunch spot in this area, and since it's only about a 5-minute walk from the clinic, we come here a lot. It's been open for 20 years, and the interior is pleasantly peaceful.
いらっしゃいませ。
ああ。うん。
Oh my god, that sounds like a typical dad kind of move, drinking coffee, reading the newspaper. I wonder why we've like come to associate that with like regular dad behavior. When I mean like regular, I mean like, you know, just the typical, you know what I'm trying to say, you know? Oh lord. That darn Leo child's got himself stuck in a room. See, this is why we always force them out before we leave. Darn cats. And here I thought I'd get like some inspiration or something. Can I yap too? I mean, yeah. Okay. So nothing else? I guess we could go. Ooh, bakery. I like that. I mean, at least I do. I love sweets.
Oi.
Don't perceive me right now. That is quite the sentence. Don't perceive me.
これはね
And the limited edition cake.
いや
Well. He seems happy. Make a joke. Play along. Not entirely sure what we need to do here. Well, not that there really seems to be anything to do. If I do negative, will his wound open up? To agree or to disagree? But it says here, make a joke or play along. I mean, I suppose it doesn't really matter right now, does it?
ネガティブに
Ooh. I didn't think that was going to be the kind of joke he made.
やだも
Damn, I did not think that was actually going to be the joke. It's going to be like something about how much he like loves sweets and stuff like that. I did not think we would be talking about his weight.
うそれじゃね
Alright, well I guess that's it.
何
Nothing. I'll keep it moving. Did I not finish at the cafe? Did it turn green? Oh, because I probably didn't do it outside the cafe. Okay. Be it. Oh, you have no business there? Damn. See, I'm not really gonna like read the stuff during the exploration part. You know? Ooh, that sounds fun. Uh-huh. Oh, damn. That is quite a range, eh? Uh-oh.
はーい
Who? Oh. Damn. Hey. Do they always travel together? Like, are they just like never like a singular?
何が
Of course you'd say both.
ちげえよ
So both of them go up, okay. I like that.
ネガティブにどうでもいい
たくよ
Oh, that filled up so much. Holy. But I'm not sure what order to do it in. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. What's gotten into you? Why is that in red?
うるせえよ。そんじゃ。
Well, I guess that goes in my palette. Hmm. Oh no, I didn't work.
何したんだ?
Oh no. I have to leave and come back. Hold on. Hold on. Gotta leave and come back. Okay, we're done here. Let's go back to the park. Sorry, I just like seeing it like all clear. Okay. Next we go to Rose. I wonder why.
こんにちは。どうも。
We yap it up with him. Seems a little guarded. Okay. You know what? Risk it for the biscuit.
な。
すみません。
いや。
また。
Thought I could risk it for the biscuit. Turns out you do not risk it for the biscuit. Because I feel like if I just sat there and said I have nothing to say, he'd just be like, then why the fuck are you here? Hey Taku. What's up, brother man?
Na.
Well, what is it? Spit it out. Takayama? Was that again? No, 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 no. Did we not meet them? I guess not. Oh, we did. No, I say make it clear, bro.
ネガティブに。
あのな。
True though.
いいんじゃないか。
Damn, so that's how you feel about me, huh? Yeah, you could do that. Alright, let's finish here. Okay, we finished there. Finished there. So I guess that means we go back home. Yeah, because there's nowhere else to go right now. Yes, sir. Pretty much done everything. But hey, we got some paint splatter out of it. Not entirely sure what any of this does, but I guess we'll find out. Back in my apartment, I turned on the TV and flopped down onto the sofa. My mind wandered as I slid a cigarette between my lips. For a moment, I thought maybe I should tell Ray about the anonymous flower sender. Before I could grab my phone, I changed my mind. Late that night, I paid a visit to Roost, like usual.
いらっしゃい。
The manager called out to me quietly as I entered. I walked to the counter and sat down on an empty stool.
何にする？
ウォッカ、ロックで。
He grabbed a glass, dropped in some ice, then poured in the liquor. Once the cup was full of clear liquid, he handed it to me. I slid it over and took a small sip. And then I pulled out a cigarette and lit it.
そうだ、トワ君。あのね。
ありがとうございました。
Ray's loud voice cut in as he and a man I didn't recognize walked out from the back room.
今日はありがとう。
こちらこそ、いつでもどうぞ。
The man bowed to Ray and the manager, then left the bar. After he was gone, Ray whirled around to look at me like he'd only just noticed me.
あらとは来てたの？
今のは客か？
そう。体に磁石入れてみたいんだって。
What? Magnet implant? In other words, he was one of Ray's body modification clients.
レイ君、お客さんが呼んでるよ。
あ、はーい。オーダー取ってきます。とは、今日は飲みすぎないでね。
With that semi-serious warning, he strolled off to the customer's table. Exhaling cigarette smoke, I pulled my cell phone out of my pocket. Then I navigated to the fourth face and scrolled through the new articles. Before long, I arrived at the wound photo from before. It was still every bit as eye-catching.
店長。
ん？
I showed him my phone screen over the counter.
これ、何に見える？
ああ、それ、ブログの画像だよね。フレーズの。
傷に見えるけど違う。
さっき話そうとしたことなんだけどね。フレーズにあったよ。
At this, I lowered my phone.
連絡があったのか？
いや、店に来て名乗ったんだよ。自分がそうだって。
どんなやつだった？
男性だよ。見た目は普通かな。 この町には最近来たみたいで、メールアドレスの件について謝られた。今は使ってないものを間違えて記入してしまったって。それでね、名乗り出てくれたお礼に好きな飲み物をおごるよって言ったら、なんて答えたと思う？アブさんって言うんだよ。
That weird wormwood booze.
あの独特の香りが好きなんだって。そんなことを言う人は初めてだから、びっくりしちゃったよ。
何がどうしたの？あ、店長、オーダー。
Ray cut into the conversation in order to pass on the customer's request.
店のブログに載せた傷の画像あるでしょ？あの画像の作者が店に来たんだよ。
そうなんだ。とはよかったじゃない。
Beaming, Ray clapped me on the shoulder, and the unexpected impact made me cough.
あ、ねえとは、そういえばクリニックに花を送った人って誰だったの？っていうか、ちゃんと花屋に聞きに行った？
言ったよ。匿名希望だから言えないってさ。
そうなの？それはそれで困るわね。
うちの患者だろうとは言ってた。いつも世話になってるから送ったとかなんとか。
そっか。それじゃあやっぱり患者さんの誰かなのかな。
花が送られてきたの？
As Ray murmured pensively, the manager cut in, half-dried glass in hand.
クリニックに届いたんだけど、誰からなのかが書いてなかったのよ。それでトアが今日は休みだったから花屋に直接聞きに行ってもらったの。
そうなんだ。どんな花？
ピンクのガーベラ。あ、ねえ、ガーベラの花言葉って知ってる？
No, what do you mean?
花言葉？知らないな。
Blake. Ray looked from the manager to me. Wordlessly, I shook my head.
数交尾ですって。
Wow, they're calling the clinic Sublime Beauty? That's nice.
数交尾？なんだかうやうやしい響きのある花言葉だね。
そうね。送ってくれた患者さんはそういうの関係なく見た目で選んだんでしょうけど。
But what if they did?
それにしてもレイ君、花言葉なんてよく知ってるね。
花のタトゥーを入れたいっていうお客さんが結構いるから、花について調べたことがあるの。その時に花言葉があるって知って、ちょっとハマっちゃったのよね。だってロマンチックじゃない？
Okay. He clasped his hands at his chest and swooned.
すべての花に意味がつけられてるなんて。
あ、レイ君、お客さんが呼んでるよ。
はーい。
Ray hastily unclasped his hands and headed over to the customer, who had raised his hand for service.
トワ君、今度フレーズに紹介しようか。
The manager's voice left his lips in a conspiratorial whisper. Admittedly, I was a little curious about Freeze, but not that desperate to meet the guy.
ま、機会があれば。
I took a sip of my watery vodka and slowly swallowed. Alright, and I think that's a pretty decent place to leave off at Toa's Atelier. Thank you guys for watching the video. Again, I know I probably should have like put this like at the front of the video, but nothing really happened. So again, it does mention trafficking, suicide, violence, and what have you, and also sexual stuff. I think you actually see the sexual stuff. But yeah, if any of that bothers you, this gameplay is not for you. But if you can't tolerate it, then by all means enjoy it. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. And if you guys watch both my YouTube videos and my streams, see you next stream. Bye!